In the American state of California, a ragged wire hangs down from the ceiling of an ordinary fire station named Livermore. At the end of this wire hangs a light bulb emitting a dusty and pale yellow light, which has absolutely no technological appeal in terms of its appearance. Its name is the Centennial Light, meaning the 100-year light bulb. What makes this bulb legendary is not the light it emits, but its stubborn refusal to go out. It was installed on that ceiling in 1901, and since that day, for over 125 years, it has continued to burn without going out for almost a single second. It has seen 2 world wars, survived countless earthquakes, and witnessed the deaths of the engineers who produced it, the firefighters who installed it, and even the grandchildren of those firefighters. That tiny glass balloon still works flawlessly, just like on its first day. Now leave the screen for a moment, lift your head, and look around you, into your pockets, onto your desks, into the corners of your home. Why does the battery of that latest model, artificial intelligence-supported smartphone you bought by paying thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of liras, drain like water before even entering its second year? Why does your washing machine or smart television, claimed to be produced with space technology, suddenly break down exactly in the week, right after that cursed month when its warranty period expires? While a piece of glass produced with that primitive trial and error technology of 1901 can survive for more than a century. Why is the lifespan of our belongings limited to just a few years in this ultra-modern age where we fly helicopters to Mars and code genetics? If you feel that goods are not as durable as before, and that devices are breaking down knowingly and willingly, you are not alone. Moreover, you are not paranoid or anything. You have not been the victim of an engineering mistake or poor quality production. You are the victim of the most flawless, most ruthless, and most massive economic assassination history has ever seen, called planned obsolescence. To see the true face of this massive robbery, we need to go back to Christmas Eve of 1924, to Geneva, Switzerland, to a secret meeting room engulfed in heavy cigar smoke. Top-level executives of giants like Osram, Philips, and General Electric, who were the world's largest light bulb manufacturers at the time, came together for a crisis meeting. There was a terrible problem for the companies. Engineers were doing their job so flawlessly that the produced light bulbs burned for an average of more than 2,500 hours and did not break down easily. People were buying a light bulb once and did not need a new one for years. Sales had plummeted to the bottom. The men in suits sitting in that dark room discovered the most fundamental and most evil rule of the capitalist system that surrounds us today. A flawless product, an item that will last forever, is a disaster for the business world. If a company wants to constantly make a profit and grow, the product it sells must die sooner or later. That day, in that room, a global monopoly called the Phoebus Cartel was established. This group had only one goal: to intentionally reduce the lifespan of all light bulbs released to the market. Moreover, they were going to do this not by improving the product, but by coding its own death warrant into the product. The cartel set a worldwide rule and strictly limited the lifespan of a light bulb to 1,000 hours. If a light bulb produced by a company managed to burn for more than 1,000 hours in test laboratories, the cartel would issue massive fines to that company. Can you imagine? For the first time in their lives, engineers began to spend shifts not to make a product better and more durable, but so that it would break down right on time, with a click. For the first time in history, breaking down, rotting, and being thrown in the trash became not a weakness of a product, but the most fundamental and most profitable feature of its design phase. Even though the Phoebus cartel disbanded with the Second World War, the toxic seed planted in that room rapidly spread to the whole world and other sectors. In the 1940s, when the chemical giant DuPont company invented nylon stockings for women, history repeated itself again. The first produced nylon stockings were so incredibly strong that women wore them for years, and even if they pulled them with a tow rope, they could not tear them. The result, just like with the light bulb, sales came to a standstill. The company management immediately gave its engineers that terrible instruction: go back to the laboratory and make those threads weaker. Today, those paper-thin, instantly tearing stockings that women snag even with the tips of their fingernails while putting them on are actually not a failure of engineering. They are the victory of a billion-dollar strategy that guarantees the continuous repurchase of the product. Today, planned obsolescence operates in a much more insidious, much more technological, and completely invisible way. They no longer just put a rotten piece of wire inside devices. They completely alienate you from the item itself and strip away your right to repair it. Think of a modern smartphone or laptop. In the past, you could pry open the back cover with your fingernail and replace a broken or depleted battery yourself in seconds. Your device would live for years. And today, those phones are sealed with industrial unmeltable adhesives. To be able to unscrew them, you need special tipped screwdrivers that only that company produces in the world. When there is a tiny crack on the screen, they have designed the system in such a way that the cost of repairing it at the service center turns out to be more expensive than buying a new phone. Giant technology companies are openly telling you, looking right in your face, do not try to repair this because it is not yours. When it breaks down, throw it in the trash and immediately buy a new one. What is even more terrifying is that obsolescence is now not only physical, but completely software-based. Even if your device's hardware is perfectly intact, even if its camera is still capable of taking flawless photos, you have no escape. Everything changes with a new update that the company sends to your device in the middle of the night, which you are forced to accept under the guise of security. That phone you love so much, which you poured thousands of liras into, suddenly begins to slow down, freeze during transitions between menus, and its battery drains like water. They put you in an invisible technological vice. As your device slows down, your nerves are stretched, and eventually, you give up and make your way back to that store. Moreover, they do this so professionally that they make you believe you bought the new phone of your own free will and make you happy about it. And on top of all this, there is the most dangerous dimension of the matter: psychological obsolescence. Meaning, even if the phone in your pocket, the watch on your wrist, or the item in your home works flawlessly in terms of hardware, just by changing the shape of the rear camera, rounding the corners of the device a little more, or releasing the new fashion color of that year to the market, they manage to make you feel that what you have is old, outdated, and embarrassing. The product itself is not broken, but the value of that product in your mind and its status in society have been destroyed. It is not only our wallets that pay the price for this massive billion-dollar wheel. On the other side of the world, in Africa, in Ghana, in Asian countries whose names you have never even heard of, massive mountains of electronic dumps, stretching as far as the eye can see, are formed where those phones, televisions, and computers that you threw in the trash, saying, "I used it for 2 years, it got old," are piled up. The toxic heavy metals in those batteries leak into the water children drink and the soil they cultivate. Do you know why? Just so a tech giant can announce a 10% more profit to its shareholders this quarter. We think we are free consumers within this glittering system imposed upon us. We think we have the freedom of choice, that we buy that newly released model of our own free will and with our own money. However, we are not consumers or anything. We are laboratory rats sitting on top of those massive mountains of garbage that capitalism itself has produced, whose wallets, perceptions, and most importantly, time, are constantly sucked away. We are not consuming things. The system itself is consuming us. As they shorten the lifespan of goods, they are actually stealing those sleepless nights, the shifts, the sweat we spent to buy those goods, meaning the lifespan of our own lives. When you return home today, take another look at that broken machine in your house, or that smartphone that slows down on its own, and never forget this: that device is not broken. It is working flawlessly, exactly as it was designed in that dark room in Geneva in 1924. and it is dying precisely on the day it was ordered to die. Everything has a story. Thank you for joining Wonderpath. See you on the next journey.